Chapter 13. Hannah went straight to the shop the first time she'd been there in nearly 2 weeks. How it had changed! Before, all she'd seen were the bones of the building. Now an honest-to-goodness shop stood in front of her, and a handsome one at that. The siding had been painted a pale sage green with darker green trim. The double doors with their center panels and brass knobs gave the facade an elegant look. The large window to the left of the door let in plenty of light. Hannah stepped into the spacious interior, which smelled of freshly cut wood. There were piles of curly wood shavings everywhere. She ran her hand down the counter that Mr. Hart had built along the south wall. Behind it were shelves right up to the ceiling, each shelf wide enough to hold bolts of fabric. In the corner was the door to the storeroom. More shelves lined the east and north walls. A fancy coal heater stood in the other back corner, the decorative scrolls of its nickel top shiny with newness. She followed the sound of hammering through the door behind the counter into the storeroom. Papa was nailing lath around the windows. Mr. Hart was sawing a board placed across 2 sawhorses. The room looked very like Hannah's sketch, with countertop along 2 sides. "Hello, Papa. Hello, Mr. Hart." They both stopped their work to greet her. She put her books down on the counter, pulled out a piece of paper, and held it up in front of her. Mr. Hart tilted his head and began to read aloud. "This is to certify that Hannah May Edwards has hereby completed the regular course of instruction." He stopped and glanced from her to Papa and back again. "Your diploma?" Papa asked. Hannah nodded. Charlie had gone back to reading. Now he looked up and whistled. "Listen to this. Geography 87, History 84, Orthography 100, Arithmetic 77, Grammar 98. Those are some mighty fine marks there." Papa walked over and took the diploma from her to read it himself. When he looked at her, she was surprised by the gentleness in his eyes. He cleared his throat. "I was thinking of your mama," he said softly. "She'd be right proud of you." "Thank you, Papa," she could only whisper, caught between a smile on her lips and a lump in her throat. Papa set the date for the grand opening, a week from Tuesday. "1 more week of shipments, then the weekend to make sure everything's ready. Don't care to open on a Monday, so the Tuesday it is." "Yes, Papa." "We'll be moving in over tomorrow. I'm counting on you to get the rented place packed up." That wouldn't be too bad. Knowing that their stay in the rented house would be short, she'd kept things pretty well organized for repacking. She could hardly believe that they would be living in a house of their own. Would this be the last time she'd have to pack for moving? Papa was still speaking. "Those parties Mama used to give." The mention of Mama caught her attention. "I remember them," Hannah said. Before Mama got sick, she'd hosted parties at the shop in Los Angeles 2 or 3 times a year. Those parties were among Hannah's fondest memories. She had been so young, only 4 or 5. Still, a few of the details stood out clearly. Mama always served lemonade and another cold drink made from jujube fruits, a kind of dried Chinese date. She bought mooncakes from Chinatown's best bakery and arranged a beautiful tray of grapes and orange slices or tangerines. People ate and drank and chatted, looked at the goods, shopped, put in orders. Customers would give Hannah sweets or pennies. Even though it was a tailor shop for men, the women were always invited. Mama and Papa had known that it was often the ladies who chose the tailor for their menfolk. The women met old friends, as well as neighbors that they hadn't known before. The shop became a neighborhood hub, and people looked forward to the gatherings. "Party would be good for the opening," Papa said. "But I won't have time. You'll have to do it." Hannah's eyes widened. "He wants me to take charge of a party?" It was a daunting thought. She'd never given a party. In fact, she hadn't been to one since those parties of Mama's. She thought back and realized that what she mostly remembered was how exciting it had been to see a group of people in one place, enjoying themselves and each other. A second recollection came to mind then, serving soup to the Indian women and girls. You feed people. That's part of what makes a party. There was no bakery in town, and fresh fruit would cost a fortune to have shipped in. "But I can make a cake or some cookies." She looked at Papa. "I'll need lemons for lemonade," she said. "Cost too much," he objected. She thought for a moment. "Ginger shrub, then." Shrub was made with powdered ginger and cider vinegar, stirred into cool water with a little sugar. It was a pleasant, refreshing drink that would cost a lot less than lemonade. And you'll need to get white flour and white sugar. He put up his hands. Anything else? She knew he was being sarcastic, but he didn't sound angry. Papa, the party was your idea. If we're not going to do it right, we oughtn't do it at all. One of Mama's sayings. Write me up a list, he said. I'll get what I can. It might not be everything you need, so you'll just have to make do.